Hi everyone, it's Niamh here and welcome to my art journaling channel. Today I'm taking you through a page which I don't love. So I thought I'd share with you how some pages come together in my journal. Now, if you have watched some of my previous videos, you will have seen me create this background. It was a gel printed background and I really loved how the background turned out. And because it was sort of inspired by Jane Davenport, I thought I'd use some of her stencils to draw a face. Now, I don't know, it's particularly this stencil. I really struggle with it because every time I use it, it just does not work out, and I do something to it to make it look odd. So I'm doing what I usually do is I'm starting out with a really light colour to stencil through just to get the shape of the face, and you can kind of see already that I've gone a bit funny with the face because I couldn't quite work out where the eye was sitting and where the cheek was, so it's sort of got this lump on the side. I'm going in with the different coloured skin tones and just sort of applying them all, sort of putting darker areas in and just creating some shadowing on the face. Again, I'm not putting in too much, I'm just putting sort of down the base layers, one to blot out the background and two to just get some contrast in colour, I suppose. When I do shadows, I tend to use sort of darker greys and purples to put the shadows in. I just find for me that works well. So now I'm going back in and just mixing the colours that I had to make a slightly darker colour over the top and trying to match up the stencil, which worked okay. I wasn't too concerned. I did actually keep as close as I possibly could to the edge with the face. And now I'm just going into my use it up journal and using all the excess paint. So if I've put too much paint out on my page, this is what I tend to do. So that'll be an interesting background to work on. So once I've done this, now I'm going in and doing the hair. And because I had sort of all those blues and pinks in the background, I thought I would do some pink hair. One, because I quite like it. It's a bit funky, and I've done a few paintings using some of the Jane Davenport girls with pink hair, so I thought I'd have a go. And again, I thought I'd have a go doing something different. Instead of using a paintbrush, using my scraper to just scrape paint along to sort of get some interesting lines. Hair is not my forte. I really struggle with it, so I was again finding this a bit of a challenge. One of my pieces which I have really loved doing, and I do have a video off my channel about this, and it was inspired by Inky Quill, is one of the stenciled ladies, and she's got this beautiful pink hair and it's got stenciled words in it. So that's what I'm doing. I was making up some stenciled some collage paper, and I'm using some deli paper and just using some magenta paint and stenciling onto the background. Now these stencils are a mix between Darkroom Doors and Flutter by Designs, and they're just a mixture of words. I love text, I love typography, and I really enjoy sort of the way things sort of get mixed around and different directions and so on. So plus I knew I was going to be tearing this up into little pieces, so you're not going to see full messages or full words, it's just going to be torn up into different pieces. Now you're going to see me using a lot of paint in the next little while. I have my use it up journal out here. I had to cut into a tube of my magenta paint to actually get the last little bit out of it. If you ever do that to your paints, you will actually find a whole heap of paint left in there. What you think you've finished your paint tube, and when you actually cut into it, you'll find an awful lot more. So never throw them out without cutting off the top first and just digging in what's in there. So once I'd done that, I've gone back to my hair. I've put in some neon colours because I just could, and I'm just tearing off little bits of my collage tissue and putting it into the hair. You can see it sort of blending in because I'm doing tone on tone. I'm just getting sort of the impression of letters and, you know, not full messages. You could quite easily instead of doing this on deli paper, just go in with your stencils and stencil over the top in a slightly darker shade. It will give you exactly the same technique. I just like the overlapping layers that you get with putting the collage paper on, which would be a little bit more difficult to do if you're just stenciling straight on. You wouldn't necessarily get all those layers sitting on top of each other. So as I was playing around with this, I still wasn't happy with it. One, because I really liked my background, and now I was just playing around with it and it just wasn't working. I have been playing around with using colour pencils over my pictures, painted pictures, which have been working really well, but unfortunately it didn't work on this. And the reason why is I will link the video of doing this background to this video, but I used the Jane Davenport velvet pastels in the background, and you saw when I put the pencil on, it actually removed some of the paint. So the velvet pastel still wasn't quite dry, even though I left that background for 2 or 3 days before I did anything over the top of it, and it chipped the paint off. So then you saw me trying to repaint over the top, so it looks like she's got a zit on her face now. And now I'm going in with my Stabilo oil pencil and darkening up the lines. Again, I probably should have left these with the darker brown instead of putting the black over it, because it just got a little bit too heavy. I did put the lines over the hair, which I really liked, but I hadn't done the fringe properly, so there was just an awful lot on this page that just didn't quite work. Looking at it now from this sort of perspective, I think the problem was I extended my hair out vertically out the side, and it should have curved round a little bit more. So the line at the top of her head, the way it curves down sort of halfway down the page, I probably should have followed that down with the paint rather than going straight off the side of the page. But live and learn. This is why we do this. This is why we have a go. So because I couldn't add colour pencil over the top, I decided to add my chalk pastels. And again, this got a little bit mucky. So I'm going in with a variety of different chalk pastels, trying to match up the colours, putting in some more Stabilo oil pencils sort of to darken things in. And when I was redrawing in her eyes, I managed to get one of them a lot bigger, I think, than the other, so they look a little bit unbalanced. So there was just a lot of playing around and trying to balance things up, and things not balancing up, and just learning to live with it. So that's what this page was kind of all about. It was just, well, what do I do with this? How do I fix it up? Can you fix it up? Do you just learn to live with it? And in the end, I just had to learn to live with it. If anyone's got any suggestions on how to fix up this page, that would be lovely. While I was doing it, you can see me playing around with the pupil. I didn't think the catch light was in the right place. I couldn't work out whether it should be in the same place on both eyes or in different places. So I had to look that up on the internet to try and see if I could work it out. I couldn't come up with anything that helped me all that much. I probably should have stuck with Jane Davenport's original, because she obviously knew what she was doing, because again they kind of look a little bit imbalanced. So you can see me going in and repainting it and then putting it back in again and changing it around. So this is me being really indecisive as I was working, which is not something I usually am. But when it comes to drawing faces or working on faces, because it's not in my wheelhouse, it's something I struggle with, and I probably overthink a lot. And I think you can see the problems I have with overthinking on this, because I keep going in and trying to fix things, and then I have to refix them because I haven't actually fixed anything in the first place. Like her cheeks, for example, I don't know why I decided to outline those with black pencil, and then I got a spot of black pencil on her face, and then that smudged. It's just the way things go. So this is pretty much how it all ends up. I just had to actually physically tell myself to put my pencils down and to stop working, because if I kept adding stuff, it just wasn't going to work anymore. So you can see sort of the textures and the layers that I've got as you get the close-up. I did add this quote from Eileen, which I thought worked well because she ended up looking a little bit bigger than she started off. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye for now.